Hello, my name is Irving Kier, and for this question and answer session, what I'll do is answer the question about my training background and some of the jobs I've had under that realm. So I guess I will start off at ITT Technical Institute, where I was the program chair of the School of Electronics. And there, I had the responsibility of being the person over the department that offered degrees in electrical engineering, computer and electronic engineering, and communication electronic engineering. And I was basically the subject matter expert and the person that went in and was the first person to teach each class. So I had that unique responsibility of making sure that I had the experience personally on understanding each class and how it should be laid out. And being that I did that, I also had the responsibility of creating all the lesson plans for each class taught in all three of those majors. I also had that responsibility of being the person that created the hands-on experiments that we used. Sometimes the lab experiments that were offered didn't coincide with the equipment we had, and sometimes we had more advanced equipment that we wanted to use, and I would expand upon that and create hands-on experiments that coincide with that. One of the things we also did was we had the responsibility, I had the responsibility of going in and trying to push the envelope a little bit when it came to how we taught our students. And what I meant by that is we had this thing called it was a panel that we used that were full of people who worked within the industry at companies, electronic companies that were local. Give you examples, contractors like Siemens and Northrop Grumman and things like that. We had people that worked there that would give us feedback on some of the things they wanted new employees or people coming straight out of college to have an understanding of. And one of the things we utilized was the project setting. The project setting where the different responsibilities within a project, how each position is used. So what we did was, in certain classes, we would have this setup where we would have a group of people design something that related to the course that they were in, but we would put them in different roles. We have a person who's a project manager. We might have a person that's the technical writer. Might have a person that's the economist, so on and so forth. So they had a decent idea of how the project management or the project environment actually works because of some of the feedback and some of the positions that were offered by some of these companies. After I left there, after 5 years, I moved on to be the director of corporate training at a place called Antronics. Now, Antronics does fire protection, and basically what they do is they put in the fire panels into some of the buildings and federal buildings and some of the private sector buildings around the Washington D.C. area. And my responsibility initially was to come in and be the technical trainer, the person that actually trains the technicians on basic troubleshooting disciplines. But what I found out was that the company that had been around for about 40 years had grown exponentially over the last 5 or 6 years. From 2001 to 2007, they had a growth of 300%. They had 35 people in 2001 and over 100 by the time I started working there. So I saw that there was an opportunity, or there was a need to have across the board training in each department, not just the technicians, but the designers, the engineers, the sales force, the economists, people who make the bids for the jobs they're doing, and also human resources. So we expanded that role. We expanded our training to train all of those different departments. We also did training for our clients. So when someone would buy a panel from us, we would provide training to the building engineer on how to operate the panel. We made that nice little package that we offered each employee, and it also helped us when we won bids. We also, on top of that, provided training on a certification that is common within fire protection, which is called NICET. And mostly there is four levels of NICET, and people who are in the realm or in the profession of fire protection need to have that NICET certification to advance within the profession. And it's basically almost like trying to get a PMP or something like that. You study for the exam and then you take it. Well, what we would do, we would have formal training on on that, on the subject matter within the exam, and that person could then later on take their NICET certification after taking our courses. And that alone brought in about $12,000 into our department within the first year. So that right there made our department more than just a luxury department, which mostly training and training departments are, but a sovereign department that actually brought in funds into the department or into the company as well. After the company was bought out by UTC, a larger corporation, I moved on to work as a federal contractor, starting first at the National Institute of Health, where I was a training manager that was responsible for creating web-based training, creating instructor-led training, creating creating technical documentation, and also doing webinars on a large proprietary system called Impact 2. Now, this system was used, or is used, to allow outside biomedical researchers to apply for research grants, offered by the National Institute of Health. So if you're a biomedical researcher and you're doing research on, let's say, an ailment like cancer or diabetes or something like that, and the National Institute of Health is offering funding for someone that does that kind of research and has a facility for that, you could apply for that grant using the system that we have, and you would be evaluated, and then if you're approved on that, you'll be funded and all these things. And this system was a system that did all this. Now, this system was consist of maybe 28 or 29 at this point different modules that all did different things, either externally for the biomedical researcher or internally for the federal client. And my responsibility was create training for all of those different modules. I would train primarily the help desk that consists of maybe 85 different people. Secondarily, I would train the federal client that actually used the system. That could be close to maybe close to maybe 5,000 or 6,000 people. And of course, we use seminars to train them, and web-based training to train them massively. And then we also had responsibility of training the biomedical researchers on the modules that they would actually use on their side. So we'd have these seminars and also use the webinar setting to make sure we had training for them as well. Okay, and also creating technical manuals, updating the technical manuals to reflect what changed, whatever has changed with the system. We also had deployment, just like a system would have every 3 to 4 months. So we would have to make changes to the training material, make changes to the documentation periodically, coinciding with the differences to the system from before and after deployment. After working there, I moved on to working now at GSA, where I am the Captivate web-based developer / instructional designer. My responsibility there is to develop web-based training for the actual system that GSA uses to allow contractors and vendors to apply to offer their goods and services to any federal agency. And the division I work for, basically their responsibility is being the middleman between outside contractors and vendors that have goods and services, as I was saying, and any federal agency. And they did the middleman negotiations between that. So if you're selling Coca-Cola or you're selling Pepsi or something, and you want to make sure it's sold to a federal agency with any federal agency, you would have to go through this agency in GSA to get that done. What I'm doing is creating they're doing advanced web-based they're doing advanced changes to that system that allows the person to try to get those goods and services offered. And they wanted us, a team of us, to create training, web-based training that actually instructed these vendors and contractors on what the changes are with the system, what the new procedures are, and how they need to go through these things. And this has now become mandatory for anyone that is, trying to get their goods and services done through the federal government. So that's what I'm working on now. So in summary, that's basically my training experience. I've been in the field of training and education for about 12 to 13 years. I am open to any level of position. I mean, I've been as far as being a vice president and director to right now just being a regular instructional designer, and I have no preference on either one. So hopefully this answers or gives you guys a nice background of myself and my abilities when it comes to training, documentation, and education as well. Thank you.